Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. This is This Week in Watches. We've survived the week. We're here with the news. I'm here with Josh Thanos, Watchbox Gopher.
Hey, guys.
We are taking your orders. Interactive show, your questions, our answers, and actually a couple of yours, too, because we've got questions for you.
Great.
First things first. Watch You Want is now the Watchbox, and there is no better way to start your weekend off right than some watch browsing on our new website, thewatchbox.com. It's how I buy, trade, and sell watches. I mostly just buy, but it's great for that because we have unrivaled photographs, descriptions, and my own videos for the watches in stock, as well as new arrivals updated daily. Enough of that. Wrist shots. Josh, what you got?
Same watch we had last week. I have the sorry, Breitling Aerospace Evo. It's the 42 millimeter. It's the the early 2000s version.
Yeah, early to mid 2000s.
Yeah, and I put it on the on a rubber strap with a stainless steel buckle. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's a buckle from Breitling and it's a strap from Breitling, but it's not the one that originally shipped with the watch.
No, absolutely not. And I don't think you can't buy this configuration specifically. Well, I guess you could because you do buy Breitling separate. You know, the heads are separate from the straps when you buy them. So I guess you could buy this brand new, this configuration, though this watch isn't made any longer.
Cool. Well, neither is this one. Although the model line is still alive. This is my Duomet Chronograph in white gold, 200 pieces, 2010 model year. I'm going to show you the back. I actually pulled the strap apart so you guys can get a better look at this one for once. German silver movement, or as they would call it in the French-speaking regions, Maestro. Two separate mainspring barrels. As you can see, they wind in different directions, but the same crown winds the chronograph powertrain and the time-telling powertrain. Beautiful Côte de Rayon from the free-sprung balance. And then you can see it's got a chunky case profile. It almost looks like a Longa made by JLC. So that's going to keep chipping away at our time tonight, but we've got a full slate. Acknowledging our friends joining us from far-flung, Thumper JDM. I can see that Captain Zed, Edward Ledden from Sweden. I can see Alex Ing from Scotland, Matt Forster, Mark Lisenby, Shannon Ian Chan, Robert Greenheck. Wow, hey, Robert. One of our friends and clients. Welcome aboard.
Yep.
And I can see that Thumper JDM is sporting his blue Scuba Tech currently on OEM rubber. I'm glad you mentioned that because that watch is going to pop up later in this episode.
Right.
All right, this or that. Patek Philippe family feud. I want to remind you guys that we are almost at Basel. We're between SIHH and Basel. And so do we go with a simple Patek pre-owned that has gained in value, or do we go with a complicated one that actually sells for less pre-owned? As the prices for the Nautilus 5711 1A and the complicated 5961A annual calendar flyback chronograph have done this on the pre-owned market. So do you go with a simple watch or a complication? Josh, here's the choice. Friends in the chat box, chime in, because as I go through these watches, I want to know which one you would take for pretty much even money. Okay, Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711 1A. What is it? Well, launched in 2006, it's the steel auto Nautilus. In other words, it's the closest in design to the original 1976 Gerald Genta original. 40 millimeters by 8.3 millimeters thick. This is a watch that since 2006 has called its signature the blue gradient dial. Now, although the watch is also available with silver dials, this is the one that makes people go gaga. We'll talk a little bit about the pricing delta in a moment. Now, for many, this is the definitive Nautilus, too. And it's important to note that it's the equivalent of Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak 15202 ST, the extra thin, the jumbo. They were 4 model years apart in the 70s, designed by the same man, and originally had the same movement inside. Today, the Nautilus is powered by the caliber 324 automatic Patek Philippe seal, automatic winding, 35 to 45 hour power reserve. The watch features a silicone hairspring, anti-magnetic Gyromax free sprung, protected to 120 meters, water resistant. Remember that because the 5960 is not that watertight. All right, now this is a watch that retails for $24,800. That's increasing to $30,000 March 1st this year. And pre-owned, this is a watch that goes for about $35,000 to $40,000 with the silver white dial, and sometimes $40,000 to $45,000 with the blue gradient dial. Okay, Patek Philippe 5960 1A annual. This is the flyback annual calendar. So it's a flyback chronograph, automatic winding, and an annual calendar, and a power reserve gauge. 40.5 millimeters by about 13.9 millimeters thick. It's chunkier than the Nautilus. This originally launched in 2014 at Basel World. It was the first time we saw the steel version, and the first time we saw this watch steel on a bracelet. One and the same. Now that's the 5960 1A-001. More on that in a moment because it's gaining a brother. joined in 2017 by the black dial variant, which looks like it's going to be a collectible as the 1-year 5960 1A-010. A single year in production, already slated for discontinuation. We have the full list of discontinued Patek tonight. Josh, I'm almost there. Both of the steel models feature a superb bracelet, which is absolutely comfortable, even more so than the Nautilus because of the smaller links, in my opinion. Tons of features: annual calendar, flyback chronograph, power reserve gauge, AM/PM indicator, automatic winding but only 30 meters, water resistant. Finally, 55-hour power reserve automatic caliber 28-520, beautiful to look at, but a central rotor automatic like the 324 in the Nautilus. Vertical clutch column wheel. This is a $51,000 watch new at retail, but through the miracle of pre-owned, it's kind of fall into that same $35,000 to $40,000 range as a lot of 5711 1As. Josh, which one do you take and why?
So, I mean, the 5711, the blue dial, is the watch that everyone's chasing right now. I've seen some dealers list them pre-owned as much as $48,000, right? So about roughly $18,000 more than the current, updated retail price. For that reason, you would think that, I would probably pick that watch. And, I mean, it's an amazing watch. It is a Gorilla watch of mine, and I would most likely pick that watch if it wasn't up against the 5960. So the 5960 is an unbelievable watch. The bracelet is more comfortable, in my opinion. It's a little bit of a beefier case, which in most cases I don't like, but when you're comparing the two watches, it is actually a little bit more substantial on the wrist because it's not overly thick. And the 5711 is almost a little too thin. Yeah,
the 5711 is basically as thin as the Audemars Piguet 15202. Some people aren't cool with a watch that feels almost limp. It's slim.
Right.
It's not sporty.
No, and that's the thing. So the 15202 is a little bit larger on the wrist. So even though they're roughly the same thickness, the 5711 is almost like too thin and too small on the wrist. So when you go to the 5960, and then you add the fact that the version that we're talking about is a 1-year edition black dial, which is so awesome, and it's much more versatile almost than the white dial, in my opinion. When you add the flyback chrono, the annual calendar, which that's what Patek is known for.
Yeah. They invented that.
I mean, they invented the annual calendar chronograph, right? So if we're picking this or that for the same money, roughly,
yes,
I'm going to go for the value play, in my opinion, the 5960.
Yeah, buying this depreciated, you're not going to lose anything, certainly.
No.
People forget, though 20% of Patek Philippe production is steel,
right,
a lot of that is the reference 491024. People forget that's Patek's best-selling single model. Once you take those ladies' 24s out of the equation, you're left with only a handful of sports watches, most of which are Aquanaut or Nautilus, and then there's this 5960, and then there's the black dial version. So you're really paring down the level of production that could possibly have been offered over its 1-year lifespan with the black dial. Yeah. So that's the one I would pick for fun and for the future.
It's a truly limited watch against a watch that's limited by, I guess, by demand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, in that regard, and I think that what you're going to see is the fact that this watch has been fully discontinued. That this one's going to go up in value as well. Okay. So it's not a bad buy to pick them up now before dealers catch on.
Yeah, and I would not be shocked if 5711 values do a little bit of a dip in the future. I'm not sure if people are going to be paying $50,000 for those pre-owned forever after the price goes up. I
think that we had this discussion in the office. I think that the price increase on that watch is actually going to create a value play for the 15400s. That's really what's going to happen because now you have a watch that used to compete within the same kind of
the
reach.
41mm automatic Royal Oak.
Right, exactly. So those a lot of times people would go for either or. For a few more dollars you get the 5711, and now the price disparity is so large that actually creates a value play when you go to the 15400 Audemars.
Yes.
And I think you're going to see that watch strengthened because of the price increase of.
And that's a watch you can buy pre-owned at about retail right now. Like you can buy it pretty much at even money pre-owned. So that's one to look at.
Yeah.
So our comments coming through, you guys were great at telling me which one you wanted. Adam J. Odell, 5711 and no second thoughts. Triple D joining us from Switzerland. I feel like Shannon saying right here, I love the 5960. If there wouldn't be this design flaw, there's a date behind the chronograph seconds. He doesn't like that. I will say, though, the apertures make it really easy to read the calendar. I see Steve Pascoe joining from Wales. Bengali Mia saying AP Royal Oak RD2 Okay, well, not on the options list, but not a bad choice. A platinum watch, of course. 5960 all day from Todd Piasecki. Less commonplace, and I like that. JBO Surf 5960, more bang for the buck by far. You are getting a lot of complication in that watch. Captain Z 5711, such a grail. And Mark Lisenby, I would have to go with the 5960. I love the complications, and it flies under the radar. John T is saying, is the 5960 a dead watch without the chrono? Without the chrono, it would be. It has no constant seconds, but because of the vertical clutch, you can engage the chronograph, just leave it running. There it is. You can leave that seconds hand in the Shaka Red running around the dial with no additional wear and tear because of the vertical clutch. This is not a 5170. It is not like the old 5070. It is a vertical clutch, modern, crisp, and no extra damage to your watch if you just leave it running. Now, here's a comment from Okies asking, Tim, please compare serviceability of the two. You're going to pay more for the complicated chronograph.
Of course.
There's more to it. It has a automatic with a chronograph and an annual calendar built into it. Of course, it's a more complicated decasing and recasing. If you need parts, there are more of them. The through fittings of the case, because you have flanking adjusters for the calendar, sometimes those pushers need to be replaced. The gaskets always do, so the parts costs are going to be a little bit higher. Make no mistake, the Nautilus is more budget friendly once the time comes to service. Once you own it, it'll cost less. How much less? Let's say $800 to $1,000 when the time comes to service it every 3 to 4 years. All right, and I can see right here CRJ saying if I had that much money, I'd go for the 5960. The amount of complications worth it for me rather than the hype of the Nautilus. Okay, guys. Moving along to the news of the night, let me remind you that when the news stops, the fun continues on my Instagram page, where I am Tim_Mosso, updating daily. I love to correspond in the comments next to the photos. It's probably the easiest and quickest way to reach me directly. And I love to do video, which is kind of a newish thing on Instagram, but it's kind of my deal. I've always done it, and I'm taking that format to my new medium. So that's Tim_Mosso on Instagram. Comment below if you're watching this taped, and of course, subscribe if you like what you're seeing. Josh, industry news, discontinued Patek Philippe.
Yeah, there's a whole list of them, right?
That is a fact, and we're leading with the trophy from our this or that, the one we agreed we wanted more. A full list became available last night, guys. Those of you watching this taped, freeze it. Those of you watching now, do a control, what is it, like control shift 4 to take a screenshot.
Just control print screen.
Right there, you were looking at the full public list of everything that's being discontinued for 2018 from Patek. Now, I want to give a shout out to the 1-year 5960 1A-010 watch that came out last year, dead for its first anniversary. Marquee casualties also include the following grand complications. The 5207P. This is a watch that features a interesting obsidian. It actually has an obsidian inlay on its flanking, and you can see it has a counterpart in the 5208P, another grand complication, being discontinued. This one is actually the watch that Terry Stern wears personally. That is the 5208P. And that is a mono pusher chronograph with perpetual calendar and minute repeater, micro rotor automatic. Also joining it on the scrap heap of history, as classical Marxists would have said, the 5959R. More likely it'll be joining the reserve collections in safes of the rich, famous, and those of means. This is an eensy-weensy little thing in 33 millimeters that deserves big love, nevertheless. All gone. And many Golden Ellipse 3878 references being discontinued and decommissioned. This is the 50th anniversary this year of the original Golden Ellipse, so I don't expect this to be a phase out of the line. I expect to see a successor model at Basel. Josh, what was not really touched? Not many Calatravas, Aquanaut, or Nautilus on that list.
Just like their core pieces really weren't touched. So, you know, there was rumors earlier in the year that the Nautilus may be discontinued, maybe with the white dial, maybe with the blue dial. None of that has been touched. So a lot of the grand comps, the complications, and then the ladies' pieces is really where it went.
The other interesting discontinued piece was the 5131R, which is a rose gold world time that had been retained after the 5130 was discontinued. They kept the 5131 as the larger world time as a platinum for cloisonné enamel. So if you've got a hankering for that, and it is an application piece, a lot of application pieces being put out to pasture, it would be a great idea to get on the list now and start the process. If you must have and you don't want to buy pre-owned, the clock is ticking. All right, guys. So from discontinued Patek Philippe to other industry news of the acquisition variety, we have a little bit of a M&A over the last 24 hours as Bucherer buys Tourneau. That is the Tourneau time machine in central Manhattan. My old haunt when I was in New York right after I got out of the Navy. I was there every other weekend. That is the flagship of Tourneau since 1900. Tourneau, a New York company and a flagship U.S. watch dealer, currently with 28 locations, down from 33 only a year ago, purchased by Bucherer. So for many Americans, this acquisition may come as a surprise. Aside from a trickle of the criminally underrated Carl F. Bucherer Petravi Scuba Tech dive watch, this is probably the most popular stateside model and the Submariner alternative you must consider if you haven't. Bucherer is probably best known stateside as the watch of choice for the cinematic criminal John Wick.
Oh, yes.
So from criminally undervalued to the most charismatic of mass murderers and Carl F. Bucherer connoisseur, this is probably the level of press the company has had stateside short of this acquisition. So now we need to distinguish between Carl F. Bucherer, the brand, and Bucherer proper. Since 2001, Carl F. Bucherer has been built up as a watch brand by CEO Sasha Mori, and Sasha Mori has really taken the long-term Bucherer brand name and invested it in Carl F. Bucherer, the watch brand. But Bucherer itself, Bucherer is a luxury retail superpower in Europe, doing something approaching 1 billion Swiss francs in annual business. Now, in terms of locations, they're not that much more numerous than Tourneau. They have 33 locations, mostly scattered through continental Europe, and they bought 6 locations previously branded the Watch Gallery in the UK to take advantage of devaluation of the pound. But they do have many smaller boutiques and spaces in other retailers. The important thing is they are known for luxury. And Josh, you have a story about visiting, what was it, their Paris location?
Yeah. So
what was that like?
It was actually beautiful. It was one of the nicest watch shops I've ever been into. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that they bought Tourneau, and I think that they can do some really nice stuff with that time machine downtown, because the Bucherer boutique that I went to in Paris was unbelievable, and all the staff was well trained. They had fantastic displays. All the watches that you wanted to see were available. So I think this is a great move.
I think so too. It's important to remember that Bucherer has strategically acquired companies that give it a presence in Asia, in the UK, places where it has historically not been strong. And it's also important to remember that with very little exposure stateside, short of limited distribution of its recently established namesake brand, this is something I would expect will result in what we saw in England, where the Watch Gallery became Bucherer. I think we'll see some Tourneau locations rebranded. I definitely think the Tourneau time machine in New York has enough currency that we may see Bucherer displays in there, but I think they'll keep that location. Elsewhere in major watch retail centers like LA and Miami, I wouldn't be shocked to see a few Bucherer locations show up, because they're also very strong in jewelry, and as we know, the jewelry market over the last 3 years has been stronger than the watch market.
Without a doubt, yeah. And I mean, I mean, for as being one of our competitors, it's interesting to see this, this move. We have plenty of employees that came over from Tourneau as well, so we're seeing a consolidation, it seems like, which is it's interesting.
Yeah, actually, we got Jason from Tourneau when they closed their Bal Harbour location. Like I said, Tourneau, send your best, you can keep the rest. But Tourneau doesn't do that much business. They're maybe $50, maybe $60 million in turnover a year. Bucherer is, 20 times that. So realistically, you're looking at an acquisition that's a real estate play. I would also say this, there is something interesting about Tourneau that Bucherer maybe needs to learn, and Tourneau, to their credit, got ahead of everyone in doing, and that's embracing pre-owned watches. Yeah. I mentioned Jason came from Bal Harbour Tourneau down in Miami. Well, he was their specialist in pre-owned. And Tourneau, in terms of pre-owned inventory and advertising pre-owned as a thing in luxury watches, they're out ahead of most of the chains and the distributors and the brands. I think Bucherer is probably looking at that as part of the value in their acquisition, not just the real estate.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, you see a lot of companies looking at the secondary market and understanding that that's actually part of the primary market as well. You see Audemars Piguet really, announce that they're going to be doing their own pre-owned like stores and things like that. So I mean, there's a lot of people focusing on that, and if that is part of their play, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it would be tough for a company that sells the Carl F. Bucherer line to be buying Rolex and Audemars Piguet and Patek Philippe, but I can easily see them maybe focusing the Tourneau business on pre-owned and saying, you know what, this is where we're going to facilitate our trade-ins. And it might be that in a Bucherer store, you have a Tourneau pre-owned booth where you can do a trade on a new watch.
Makes sense.
And I could see that being valuable branding if they decide to keep Tourneau.
Yeah, they would just need to, figure it out a little bit, because that's one thing, as a criticism towards Tourneau is when they're buying, they're not always in the market, because we're competitive with them as well, and we obviously have Jason. So, and when they're selling, they don't. A lot of times they don't include the box of papers. They put their own stuff. So, those are things that they have to learn, maybe from people like us who actually are dealing in this and heavily invested in pre-owned. But we're happy to have the competition, and if they want some pointers, they can always give us a call too.
I would also say this: the missing element in pre-owned watches that you see, we love to compare CPO cars with CPO watches, but here's the real difference. In the auto industry, most of those pre-owned cars are leases, coming off lease with low miles and cream puff condition, being taken from the new car lot over to the pre-owned, coming off leases, and there's an agreed resale value or residual on the car at the time the lease is signed.
Right.
Part of the problem with pre-owned watches is there's this kerfluffle over what the watch is actually worth when the time comes to trade it or sell it. Cars, Mercedes-Benz doesn't have to break the bad news to you about what your new Mercedes E320 is going to be worth 2 years later, because you signed a lease saying this is what I agree the residual will be. That's missing in the watch industry, and the ability to talk about residuals on watches is really where we've come out ahead of everyone who said, I want to do pre-owned.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that value, and there's only a few brands that really you'd be able to actually peg down residual value.
Yeah.
But it's the car market's a very well-developed pre-owned market. The watch market is well behind it. So I'd say maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now, we could probably have those types of conversations, possibly. But it's there's only a very few people or companies in this industry doing it the way we're doing it, and those are our main competitors.
Okay, so from pre-owned watches to new watches you can buy. This is an interesting follow-up because new watches, we've got 2 green watches to suit all budgets. Now, I have said that green is going to be a thing. I don't know if it will ever be the supernova that blue became, where all of a sudden everything was blue at every price from every brand all the time. But I will say this. If you're looking at the top of the market, you need to consider the Christophe Claret Maestro Mamba. On the heels of a successful appearance at SIHH 2018, manufacturer Christophe Claret of Loloc, which is an haut de gamme manufacturer probably best known for building grand complications for others, for the likes of Harry Winston, and they've done it for Ulysse Nardin. They've done it for Guy Ilio with the minute repeating 5 time zone. So they're used to building high-end watches, but we rarely see their own name on their best pieces. And here's an example of a bold watch that is a Christophe Claret product. So the watch features a vivid green that can be observed on big African snakes of basically the Mamba species. We'll call it that. We're going to use the scientific name, but that just confuses folks. It's better to know it as just Mamba snakes. At the same time, those feed on birds. In North America, you'll see this color on bigger North American snakes that feed on naive drivers. And high school kids with too much money. Okay, so that's an apex predator for another time. 42 millimeters by 16 millimeters thick in grade 5 titanium that has been blackened inside and out. We see this watch arrives on an epic snakeskin strap. It is actual green Mamba, and I am loving that green. I am absolutely loving that green, guys. So hands are blackened sapphire. So the hands of the watch itself are blackened sapphire that are then coated with green superluminova and electric green lacquer. So the dial of the watch has additional shocks of green where you wouldn't expect them. Okay, intriguingly, the open dial features snakes on a plane. That is, they're on the same plane as the bridges, the motion works, the barrel, and the indicators. So if you look, you can see they're on the same plane with the bridges of the caliber DMC-16. The snakes are actually rose gold, coated with a spectra coat that is an extreme green, and we can go back and look at those snakes again real quick, guys. That's the caliber itself, 346 pieces, 33 jewels, manual wind with a 7-day power reserve. So you can see those are actually rose gold green snakes that have then been effectively painted green. I'm loving this. You can tell your friends they're dragons. Dragons are cool now with Game of Thrones. So those are officially dragons if you don't want to tell your friends they're snakes. That said, 7-day power reserve, manual wind, dial side escapement, impulsing, a free sprung balance made by Christophe Claret. beneath an open mainspring barrel. You can see that at 12 o'clock, and the movement is sized correctly for the watch. 36.25 millimeters. It's a big movement for a big watch. That's what a true manufacturer does. Concentric stacked conical grand date display, which you can see right there. It's a cone with 2 different wheels, and the 2 wheels align to give you the current date. It is an instantaneous change at midnight. So impressive stuff that's not easy to achieve. You can also see another feature in the upper right, a Tsavorite Indicator. This is a small gem that alternates with a triangular diamond, and you actually use the pusher adjusters on the case flank to interchange them so they flip positions to remind you that there might be something, a meeting, a memento, an errand, something that requires your memory in those times when you can't just set off an alarm. So a fun visual reminder and one of the quirky signatures of Christophe Claret. I don't really know of anyone else doing a visual reminder cue. Okay, 28 pieces of the green Mamba, and there are actually going to be 28 other pieces of the orange Pantherophis. That's orange, and I'm a green guy, so I'm sticking with the main model. Each will be priced, however, at 96,000 Swiss francs. Josh, is green going to be a thing?
I mean, it should be. Well, we are seeing a few of that. So the Panerai out in front with some of their green dial references, and yeah, I mean, why not? The Air King with some green on it, and for your sake, I hope it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a fan. This thing's cool as heck.
If the Mosso Mania Memovox ever happens, to be continued, but this is a great use of an electric green on a mainstream watch. I will say this, I see some comments from the chat box right here. Wow, okay, so Simon Holt, that Christophe Claret looks like something H.R. Giger drew. He created the original Alien for, the Alien Xenomorph. That's H.R. Giger. He was a Swiss artist who created outstanding sci-fi creations like biomorphs and aliens and mutants. It was pretty cool. I note a
Swiss art expert over here.
Killamist 666 saying the Mercedes Beast of Green Hell AMG GTR has the same green as this Christophe Claret. And I can see Simon Holt saying that's not exactly British racing green, that's electric. Eric Nielsen, cue the Samuel L. Jackson meme from Snakes on a Plane. And Simon Holt mentioning Game of Thrones, since we threw out dragons, is filmed 200 yards from my office. Oh,
wow. Well, can you give us some spoilers for the next season?
Do you take any phone photos of the conclusion? What happens at the end?
Email it to me.
We'll have a Game of Thrones exclusive. HBO will fire like a ballistic missile at my office. And we have a friend joining us from Zimbabwe. Very cool. All right, so from green that's
Mosso Mamba
mean to green that's lean for your budget, if it's a little bit more modest, the Rado True Thinline in green ceramic. I feel like Rado comes out with a knockout watch every year around Basel. Last year it was, I want to say it was the true Rainier Much designer series that was really cool with that beautiful stepped concave dial. So this year, new for 2018, the model is the answer to the question, what can I wear that's affordable and rugged enough for daily driver use without the generic disposability of a Timex or a Casio? What if I want a premium product that's tough enough to wear every day? Okay, so 39 millimeters by only 5 millimeters thick. This is really slim stuff, guys. This is thinner than the Bulgari Octo Finissimo automatic. Wow. So super slim in profile. The watch actually features a polished green ceramic case, so a luxury product with style and a friendly price. It has a green mother of pearl dial featuring a floating Rado logo and floating hour indices in yellow gold that cast shadows on the reflective dial. And the yellow gold accents, I feel, are really well chosen to complement the spectrum of greens. Okay, guys, some of you will immediately make the connection, but do you remember the Fisker Karma? The best looking car ever made? Whatever its flaws, it was the best looking car ever made. I briefly had one. Well, the green mother of pearl dial, and we've got a great full screen, of this new Rado, features a leaf motif almost like the giant petrified leaf ghosted onto the center console graphics of the Fisker's interior. So, well chosen, Rado, well chosen. And I'll say this, with an ETA 282002 quartz caliber, a Swiss quartz caliber in there, this is a worry-free watch with set-it-and-forget-it reliability and far better internal electronics than the Fisker ever had. Okay, I happen to think that Rado always hits one out of the park. They always have great lines, but they always have one out-of-the-park release each year, and I think this is it. This is a watch I can embrace. Green is a new thing, and green for less green is a trend that I want to continue a bandwagon I can join. Roughly 2150 US, that's converted from 2,000 Swiss francs. I don't know if the conversion is exact here. It might be less stateside, but around $2,000 for this watch. Josh, you think, I think $1,000 to $2,000 is a good price for a better than, entry-level watch that's got some luxury cred, but isn't going to cost $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 with the service needs that entails. Is this a good pick for that?
Yeah, it's just a cool watch. If you're into green and you want a watch that's it's a step above, non-luxury watches, and you can wear it every day, yeah, it works.
And we got comments coming in right here. So this is a comment from Edward Ledden of Sweden saying the Aston Martin Vanquish Carbon Black Edition is the best looking car ever made. Ooh, Edward, we normally think alike. I think we're going to have to disagree here. Aston's beautiful, but that Fisker's crazy. And I'm a big fan of this new Rado. I think this is a great entry-level watch. I'm excited to see what else the brand has this year. I can also say Clive is saying that green makes the Rado look active. I would say so. Seems like an active lifestyle watch. It's not too formal, and it's not too casual. I think it's versatile. I think the yellow gold accents, rare on modern watches, really work well here.
Where else are you gonna get a green ceramic watch? Where's that gonna happen?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think AP has a ceramic bezel this year in green.
That's right. Yeah. So you can spend like $35,000
on your Royal Oak Offshore.
And just get the green bezel, or you can spend, how much was this one again?
It's about $2,000.
You can spend almost $2,000 and get a full ceramic bracelet, what's another full ceramic bracelet besides like the AP...
AP Royal Oak Royal Oak Perpetual.
Right, or a Panerai 441. Yeah. Sorry, a 438 Tourneau.
The Tourneau.
Which is going to cost you, north of $10,000. I mean, this is the best, I'll go on record right now, the best all-ceramic watch you can buy, Rado.
Yeah, for $2,000, Rado, you're killing it. That's right. All right, so from a high-end green watch to an entry-level green watch to a watch that's not green but mean in many respects, Hublot Big Bang Alps men's model. There are two models. We're going to focus on the male model here. Okay, this is headlined by a new lamb wool bund strap. So this is shorn sheep for your wrist. This is really like the equivalent of the horological, adorable Bernese mountain dog that you can wear on your wrist. Oh, isn't that cute? Gives me warm fuzzies. So this is one that you can wear for your wrist, and it should be considered the winter counterpart to last summer's French Riviera boutique exclusive Big Bang Blue. That was perfect for the season, but now it's cold. Okay, the Big Bang Alps is a 45mm frosted carbon case, bezel and case, so nice and lightweight with a titanium inner case to hold the movement. As you can see, the watch comes with a less exuberant strap option for times when the chalet chic bund strap isn't perhaps warranted. Hublot's one quick release lugs make it easy to remove the puppy strap and put on the conventional rubber and suede. And then the caliber 1242 Unico is automatic winding with a flyback chronograph, a jump date, 100-meter water resistance for when you move from the chalet to the seaside and your vacation targets change. 72-hour power reserve and 100 pieces. Josh, is this the wackiest Hublot of the last year?
No, I'd say the Sapphire is probably wackier than this, but this thing is cool as heck, man. Every time Hublot makes a new release now, I'm almost like more and more, impressed. It's not, listen, it's not going to be selling for, $20,000 over retail. It's not a Patek 5711, but they make cool watches out of great materials, and they're always thinking of something different. So while every other company is thinking of different case shapes and different complications and things like that, Hublot is just like, listen, we're going to do the same watch, and we're just going to figure out what is the weirdest material we can make this watch out of, or what's the weirdest theme, and that's what they do.
I'll also say, if the puppy thing doesn't work for you, you look at this watch. This is an unintentional aviator's watch because that bund-style strap comes from the world of aviation, and then the actual lamb wool that's used to cloak it reminds me of the leather wool tandem of a World War II high-altitude bomber jacket with the lamb wool cuff. That's what I'm getting from this thing. I actually think it's kind of cool. Would I wear it on that strap? Not often, but every once in a while.
Well, you can tell people you have it. It actually matches a jacket that Zach Rago, another one on our staff, was wearing today. So I think it's funky, it's cool. You have to be an eccentric and very confident person in order to pull that watch off, and probably a lot of Hublots, and that's kind of the point. It's not they're not making watches for specific collectors. These are watches for people who want to have a cool watch and are confident and eclectic, you know?
Yeah, Killamist666 saying it is shearling, and I can see JBO Surf saying maybe that's a 2009 release? No, it's a little bit earlier than that. Thumper JDM, continuing our watches and cars theme, watches and wheels.
19, yeah.
Hublot owner equals Hummer owner. Possibly.
Yeah,
certainly.
maybe.
Circa 2005, Hublot Big Bang came out. The Hummer H2 is the thing. I will say this, though. The juggernaut that never ends is Hublot. The Hummer thing is over, but Hublot never Hublots over. Never happened.
And actually, they're probably stronger than they ever have been.
Yeah, the brand is still, the brand hangs tough.
No, yeah.
So they know their buyer.
Not a, if you're a big time trader and you want watches that are going to hold a ton of value, Hublot's not for you. But if you want a watch that's now very well made and have something that's going to be different than a lot of the other watches out there, Hublot's for you.
Yeah, and of course, you know, we mentioned the Hummer would be the pimp mobile of the mid-2000s, but this day and age, we say, Jason Starrick saying this is what a Nepalese pimp would wear. So in Nepal, if you're rolling in the Hummer on snow tires and you're wearing the Hublot, you're set. I guess the Hublot experience replicates the Josh Thanos watch-wearing experience, according to Clive Minotaur Wrangler. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I think that's an honor.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for the compliment, I think.
Sort
okay, so Slashdot saying the only thing I dislike is that they're trying to smash an AP and a Nautilus together. I'm not 100% sure. Circa 2005, maybe. I think the Big Bang post-2012, especially with the one-click system, has been a lot more versatile and a lot more its own thing. It has its own identity.
I mean, yeah, we're way past, you know, those comparisons, I think, at this point. The 45mm Unico is a fantastic watch.
Yeah, it's a tough movement.
And the 48s, they don't make them anymore, so I can say they're not great watches. They're not wearable and they kind of suck, but these watches are actually freaking awesome. If you ever press a chrono pusher on this watch,
it's crisp.
I mean, it's like butter. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it absolutely works as a legitimate execution of luxury horology. I don't know if it's high horology because it's not very handcrafted, but it's definitely legitimate luxury.
Yeah, it's just different. It's different than everything else.
Now, from lightweight frosted carbon to heavy metal, a brand after my own heart of Zurich and Geneva, the Urwerk UR-210 Black Platinum. Okay, since the UR-102, better known as the Sputnik, that's a series of 10 from the late 90s. Since the UR-102 of the late 90s, Urwerk has maintained a quirky tradition of flagship models delivered in blackened platinum. That's right, the heaviest and most precious of precious metals delivered with a PVD coating. Now, 53.6 millimeters lug to lug by 43.8 across and 17.8 millimeters thick. This is a watch that truly sits on your wrist, not around your wrist. This model takes the UR-210 with its retrograding satellite display. And you'll note in that picture right there, in the upper left, there is a winding activity gauge. That tells you how vigorously you're shaking your watch to automatically wind it. And in the upper right, there's a conventional 40-hour power reserve indicator. And of course, you can see how the retrograde system works. The satellite hours flip over on their axis, while the needle actually jumps back and forth from 0 to 60. Interesting in that this watch allows you to alter the winding efficiency of your watch based on your activity, something that you can in theory do with a Richard Mille, but you have to depend on an RM watchmaker to do it. Here, Felix Baumgartner, the watchmaker and chief of engineering at the company, allows you to do it yourself. All right, so the hybrid display modifies the case with concentric circular engraving and blackened platinum. You can see it there. There's actually an engraved texture that is concentric circular cut into the platinum and then blackened to give the watch extra tactile and visual interest. Caliber 710 automatic, 40-hour power reserve, R-cap main plate, aluminum hands, and a titanium carousel for the satellite hours display. 25 pieces being offered. This is going to be about $166,500 US.
That's all?
Josh, what else does the Urwerk UR-210 buyer have in his collection? Who is he?
Maybe he's going to have a, I'd say, maybe, I don't know, maybe like a UN Freak. I can see that being in there. I can see maybe a Quorum, just the models.
Like a tie bridge?
Tie bridge, exactly.
Sure.
A Quorum tie bridge. But also, he probably has a Rolex Hulk in there too. Just for, like, you know, as a beater watch. So I think that's kind of it. He probably's got an Hublot.
Yeah, he's probably got an Hublot. He may even have an MP Hublot, that 2.5% of their annual production that goes to haute de gamme complications.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this guy's all over the map, the guy who buys this watch.
Yeah, he's got a lot of money, doesn't think about it when he's spending it on these types of watches. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Why would somebody cover platinum in PVD? Is there a reason other than just screw it?
I've only seen this done twice. I've seen it done by Urwerk, and I've seen it done on the Christophe Claret Felix Baumgartner, not that Felix Baumgartner. That's really confusing. I'm talking Felix Baumgartner, the daredevil, not Felix Baumgartner, the guy who makes the Urwerk. So clear distinction. But in both cases, blackened platinum. I don't know why.
Does it adhere to the metal well, or just because I'm not a big fan of PVD? We talk about it. It looks great, but if you're going to go black, go ceramic because the PVD will scratch off the watch.
Urwerk can re-PVD it for you, so there's not that problem.
So you lose your watch for 6 months.
But look at how much airtime we've dedicated to debating this. we're giving them free advertising because they made that choice.
All right, send us a watch.
Okay, so comments coming through from Slashdot saying it looks like a beetle. Clive Minotaur saying Hublot is like Richard Mille for me. It's a little bit too much. It makes him a little bit surly, as he says. Bengali Mia is saying 202 Hammerhead from Urwerk is his Grail watch. Well chosen. I can see right here, more Kylo Ren in style. Steve N is saying it is kind of Kylo Ren, but you know what?
No, yeah.
It's got the darkness, but not the emo, mopey moodiness. Like Kylo Ren strikes me as the guy who's like the moody kid, like dressed as a goth at the high school cafeteria table, sitting by himself. This watch is cooler than that, with more attitude and more confidence.
But Kylo Ren's not as emo because he's shredded, so he's like the guy who's like doing bench pressing and crying at the same time. You know, that's
okay, fine. So it's the guy who's Kylo Ren is the guy who's bench pressing, who like secretly cried when he saw Titanic.
There you go. Steroids and emo music.
20 years of Titanic this year, guys. All right. Urwerk, we love you, but from Urwerk, we jump to industry news. More comments coming through. JBO Surf, in response to the Kylo Ren saying, I sense a disturbance in the Force. Definitely a good point. Robert Greenheck saying, it looks too much like a freak for him. And Mark Lisenby saying, PVD coating on the softest noble metal used on a watch. Not even in my watch box could I afford it. And Eric Nielsen saying, ditto watch Yoda, they are smooth. Okay, sorry I got here late, says Clive Minotaur. Did I miss any JLC references? No, that's the first one, and I blame you.
Drink up.
Okay. And Bengali Mia is saying, MBNF. A little bit, but I will say this. Urwerk was doing it long before MBNF.
Sure.
Okay, industry news, guys. We want your feedback because we have to be diplomatic. We're a retailer. All cards on the table. We want to know what you think in our live chat box about the new Breitling Navitimer 8 collection. The Breitling Navitimer 8 collection, just announced this week, is a 5-piece 41 to 43 millimeter collection that includes a day and date, an automatic, 2 levels of chronograph, 1 a day and date, 1 a manufacturer BO1, and a Unitime world timer. This is the first concrete fruit of new Breitling CEO George Kern's work with the brand, which was only purchased from the Snyder family in the first third of 2017. He arrived in midsummer of 2017. So purchased in 2017, new CEO about 3 months later. This is the first new line of watches that is completely his design vision from start to finish. Too conservative or well planned? Please tell us. Are these truly Navitimers without the circular slide rule bezel? Tell us in the live chat box right now.
They're telling us.
And if other lines were eliminated, like the Bentley or the Avengers and the Super Avengers, would this be framed differently? Would it make more sense if it replaced current lines rather than slotted in like, you know, the 12th, 13th, or 14th Breitling model line? Okay, so I'm going to read a few of your responses that are coming in.
Careful.
No. We can be fair here.
Okay.
Edward Nielsen saying, I posted the Navitimer 8 with BO1, and the responses that were negative surprised him because I think he expected that the responses would be a little bit more positive, and I can see why you would expect a positive response here. Vintage is in, and while none of these are literally vintage tribute watches, they do draw heavily on Breitling. They like to throw out the 1938 Huit Aviation division, a special division they created not so much to create wristwatches as to create dashboard and cockpit instruments for aviators, and I do see a little bit of that in these watches. watches. I think these are watches that are going to look better in the metal, and I'm actually going to be at a live event in New York City next month, actually later this month, to get some real-time video of the watches and give us a little bit more evidence to make our decisions. This is a comment coming from one of our viewers saying, Sam W124 saying, they're kind of weird watches from Breitling. JBO Surf saying, only the blackened case works. Bengali Mia saying, this is definitely something new from Breitling. John M saying, they look a little bit more like a Hamilton than a Breitling. So Hamilton being an entry-level swatch brand, he's saying they look a little bit more like a Hamilton than a Breitling.
I think they leave, not seeing them in person yet, they leave a lot of questions to be answered. And I think once you have them in hand, I think that's going to be a better view of these watches.
And here's Thumper JDM saying he's reading more Ball watch than Breitling. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Ball makes nice watches.
Yeah, I got one for my dad.
I remember that we had some members of KISS when I did an event with them who were very interested in Ball watches. So Breitling, I can think of a first-class endorsement that might be in the works right here. We can network. Put meeting of the minds, we can help you there. So some are saying they've got a little bit of Ball watch DNA in them, and I could see Mr. Steve-O9900 saying he also senses Hamilton more than Breitling. Killamist666 saying that they're not really in the Navitimer tradition. They should be a different line. So he likes the watches, but he's not sure that a watch without the circular slide rule should be called a Navitimer. Also, Captain Zed, and not for nothing, saying a little bit IWC-ish. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that, again, not seeing these in person, only seeing 2D photos of these watches, I can't really develop an identity for these watches. Doesn't feel like these are Navitimers, which we talked about it before. That's their best line. Yeah. And, you know, focusing on that, on the Navitimer, is a great idea. I don't know if this is focusing on the Navitimer. I feel like this is almost getting away from it. Again, once you get them in person, then we can have a full, you know, opinion on it. The other thing is the bracelet is a little strange, right? Because it's a diver bracelet, yeah?
Yeah? The bracelet is not universally available across the models. It is available, I believe, on the two upscale, the B01 in-house caliber and the Unitime.
Okay.
It's an interesting combination of like a dive style professional 3 bracelet with a aviator's, and I'm not going to call it an aviator's watch because it's not, but an aviation-inspired watch. Comments coming through from the comment thread. North Star saying, regardless, Breitling needed to renew themselves, so he thinks they're probably doing the right thing by trying to be a little bit disruptive and maybe shaking up the definition of what a Navitimer needs to be. Slashdot says he's okay with them deviating from the traditional Navitimer line, but he would like to see something a little bit more unique. I think his favorite's probably going to be the Unitime from among these. And Roy Anderson saying, in the end, we need to see them in real life.
I think that's exactly the answer there.
Yeah. Robert Greenheck saying, a lot of Breitlings he's seen, and these are off their beaten path. So, again, jury's out, mixed reactions, some for, some against, but I think everyone has the right idea. The metal is going to tell the tale. When we see them in person, we'll really be able to give you positive or negative feedback.
Yeah, if they fit well and you see them in person, there's a lot of watches that you see in a picture, in a 2D picture, and you think that's terrible, that's fantastic, and then you see it in person, and now it's completely different opinion. So I'd say let's have some reserved judgment. But yeah, it's mixed reviews on the announcement. Let's see them in person.
Yeah. I will say this. Capping it, they're from 41 to 43 millimeters. George Kern, great idea. I'm glad that there are no 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50 millimeter watches here. We're moving away from the Super Avenger mentality, and I think for Breitling's sake, that's a good idea.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on, the news of the night includes another Breitling factoid. We mentioned that some of these watches have a little bit of an IWC vibe. That was one of our user comments. Well, their partnership with Norton means we are pretty much, and this is the Breitling partnership with Norton, means we're pretty much off to the races from the IWC playbook. George Kern, who wrote the playbook, to be fair, now at the head of Breitling as of this year, he's clearly importing his IWC business model. And right here you can see George Kern in a previous life, alongside a vintage Mercedes-Benz Grand Prix car. So the watches and wheels notion then with 4, now with 2 working for George. Will it work for Breitling? Well, let's consider this. Watches are coming. We don't have any concrete pictures, designs, complications, prices, or dates, but we know something is coming, and I think we can expect to see it at Basel World this year. That's why we're seeing the announcement now to prime us for the watch line that's going to follow. Guys, tell me in the chat box, what would it take to make you interested in a Breitling Norton timepiece or a Breitling Norton model line? And I will absolutely read out your responses. For better or worse, tell me what would it take to make you interested in this partnership. Now, I will say this. What happens to the existing partnership between Bremont watches and Norton? From 2009 up until 2017, there was an entire Bremont Norton line of watches. The Bremont Norton V4 Super Sports was actually on their website, new for 2017 up until very recently. Now, Bremont's website returned this notice this morning when searching for their Norton line. Yeah, okay. So this is the aviation watch equivalent of Error 404. I would love to know what happened to the relationship moving forward. For better or worse, for Bremont and Breitling, I would like to know the story here. And that is really too bad because I loved what Bremont did with Norton. Those were legitimately handsome watches. Those were handsome pieces. I liked all of them, the coloration, the style, the complication, and at right around $7,000 for a 200-piece limited series right there, the price was right for what you got. I would say the best case scenario is Breitling manages to do something like this, because this actually sets the bar pretty high for an affordable limited edition steel chronograph.
You know, I'm seeing some of the comments and people are referencing the top time, like as a ref. I would love to see a Breitling top time resurgence. That would be cool. I mean, that was a nice, you know, beautiful old style chrono. You know, vintage is in. I think that would be a good move for them.
Yeah, Breitling, bring back the top time in conjunction with the Norton partnership, and you might be able to catch lightning in a bottle. Mm-hmm. And yes, I realize that Norton and BSA Lightning are two different things for you old motorcycle guys. Vincent Black Lightning is the only lightning in my heart. Okay, but obscure British bike trivia aside, so we have comments coming through saying, Val Blitz, as an owner of two Triumphs, this is Thumper JDM saying, he agrees, Norton, if you want to be relevant in the English bike scene, go with Triumph. It is true, they have the wind in their sails. And Norton only revived, it was a dead brand, revived in 2008. They've got a ways to go before they catch up to where Triumph is right now. That's not saying it's impossible, though, and they might go with a more boutique approach than the mass market Triumph company. Okay, so moving on to more industry news, good news. Swiss watch exports for December 2017 are out. We typically get these about a month after the month that's being measured. Mm-hmm. And here's the good news. Exports were up 0.7%, so 0.7%. You can see the chart, the 12-month moving average. The trend continues, but it is flattening out now as we start to compare year-on-year months to a year when recovery began to take form. So by February of 2017, we saw a recovery that was quantifiable. The fall really ended in December of 2016, so this is the first time that we've had to compare a current month to a previous month that wasn't a disaster for the industry. Steel and mixed metal were the only mainstream gainers. As you can see, here are the percentage gains, plus 2.2 for steel, plus 5.2 for gold steel two-tone. And Hong Kong, China, mainland China, and Japan drove the gains. The USA and the UK, though important as percentage markets, were both down significantly. And the gainers were mostly Swiss franc 500 to 3,000 timepieces, although there were moderate gains of 1.7% to Swiss franc 3,000 and up timepieces. Josh, what's going on here? Is it getting tougher and tougher to show year-on-year gains, or is this just a reset after the holidays?
Reset after the holidays, I believe. I mean, I think that, you know, what you're seeing right now is that, you know, U.S. economy is doing very well. The world economies are kind of up, so you're going to keep seeing, you know, increases. But yeah, there was a phenomenal holiday season, and I think that's kind of what you're seeing, a reset.
Yeah, I think most of the holiday buying is done in October and November. Mm-hmm. So December sometimes can wind up being a little bit of a flatter month because you're between the October and the November holiday buying, and then it's before year-end bonuses are typically paid out the first 2 months of the following year. Mm-hmm. So what we really need to see, this will be definitive. The real resurgence in Swiss watch exports took place in February of 2017. Every month since then has shown a year-over-year gain. When we have to compare this February to last February, it will be the first time we have to compare a current month of Swiss watch exports to a previous month in which gains were being registered as opposed to apocalyptic losses. So if the recovery is real, it will be a recovery compared year on year to a recovery, not a recovery, as we've seen so far, compared to disaster. The jury is out. Comments coming through. I can see guys saying that Watch Shoda, is this a step in the right direction for Breitling, the Norton partnership? He's not sure, but time will tell. And then I can see that the Easy Rail is echoing Josh's notion that we should bring back the old top time style, especially the twin registers from the 60s. Those were handsome watches.
They were.
And they would be well suited to Norton because that was an era when Norton and Brit bikes generally were very successful, especially stateside. George Kern.
Take the idea. Don't even have to pay us for it.
Okay. And now, possibly the most controversial, you thought the Breitling thing might be controversial. The most controversial item tonight is something that also coincides with the best article of the week. I love to shout out to the best article written in the watch journalism space each week as a journalist myself. And it goes, by the way, link in the description, guys, if you're watching this tape. The Truth Behind Michael Kobold and the Kobold Watch Co. by Jessica Favor, the general manager of Time Zone. This is rare primary source investigative journalism in the watch press. This article is damning and in-depth. It establishes a pattern of behavior that she documents over more than a decade by Michael Kobold and all of the endeavors onto which he's put his name. Charities, expedition companies, instrument companies, the watch company that we principally associate with him, companies that have sold survival gear. Everything about his behavior, as she documents it, comes across looking damning and borderline, if not outright fraudulent, as she paints the picture, and thus far he has issued no response in his defense. Everything he has done for charities has been a matter of self-enrichment. Everything he has claimed to have done for charitable causes has benefited him and his immediate collaborators, and the worst of the worst is that there have been real victims with names and faces who she details in this article. He's done everything from try to get past US TSA inspectors with a badge that was not his, to faking nationality. He's actually a German national. He was pretending to be an American at the airport security as far back as 2003. This is what needs to happen. We either need to see a devastating rebuttal, fact-based and corroborated from Michael Kobold himself, or an admission of guilt. There's really no way you can walk the line between the two after what Jessica reveals in this meticulously documented article she wrote. There's no middle ground imaginable after this broadside. So, Michael Kobold, the ball is in your court. It's do or die here. This was the best article written in the watch space this week.
Interesting.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. I want to personally thank everyone who participated in our live chat. This has been a very interactive episode. I want to thank Josh for coming out for the episode.
Thank you.
By the way, guys, you can always reach Josh to talk watches, buy, trade, or sell. He answers his phone full-time. His answering machine never goes unanswered for long, and he's a collector in his own right. So if you've got doubts, he's got answers. All right.
Reach out.
Do we have his number to throw up on the screen? In any case, there you go.
There it is.
Stay with me online. Once the fun ends here, it continues on Instagram, Tim_Mosso. Follow me on Instagram. I'll be posting video tonight. Otherwise, comment in the description box below and subscribe to our channel here to continue the good times. Thank you so much. The weekend awaits. I'm Tim. He's Josh. This is Watchbox. They're the amigos. And thanks for logging on.
Fly, Eagles, fly.